Hello. That music was Xenogears. It was not Final Fantasy Tactics. It's a different composer altogether. It was a different music altogether. That's right. Hello. Oh, why am I wearing this? I just returned. I returned home with my soaked bag full of soaked books and magazines. We've lost estrogen, which might have to repurchase or something. I don't know. I just took more blockers. And unattended an event. Unattended an event. March from the embassy of Russia, going through Warsaw, visiting all the different embassies, German, French, all the European ones, the US embassy as well. Finally, ending at the parliament, the Polish parliament, and saying, do more, basically, do more. It was a very strong event. I got a lot of footage of it. There was a lot of. It was all very well planned out as well. There was not a moment of idleness throughout the whole thing. At the beginning, everybody just sort of gathered around, met around. Hello. Met around the embassy of Russia, which, by the way, a real power move by the government is that the street in front of the Russian embassy has been permanently renamed to the alley of victims of Russian aggression. It will now be the street in front of the Russian embassy will now forever be the alley of the victims of Russian aggression. And there've been these little crosses. There's these little symbolic graves with names of victim of the Russian invasion and their age. And then people were allowed to light up little lamps and put them near those little graves. The whole thing was a bit solemn. There was a lot of sadness in the air. But there were moments of cheer. What has to be said about this whole event is that it was very Ukraine-centric. It had a lot of Ukraine speakers, from journalists to people that survived the occupation, to, I think there were some politicians. A lot of the volunteers, of course, activists. They all gave speeches in Polish and in Ukrainian. They, of course, spoke of the Polish-Ukrainian relations. They spoke of the thing on the border. They spoke of misinformation. They called Putin many swear words which are shared in Polish and Ukrainian. They also There was a whole block of this event meeting dedicated to journalists who work for the traditional media, for journalists who work independently, for for journalists of all sorts to journalists. There was a tribute to journalists of all ilk, because a big topic of today's event was misinformation and propaganda. And as the speakers said, journalists who go and report the truth of what they see and witness are the biggest weapons against Russia's misinformation and propaganda. They are the weapons of Ukraine. Journalists from all over the world, from Ukraine, from Poland, from Europe, from countries outside of Europe, like the US. Oh, there was this whole appreciation moment for journalism and for reporting on the ground. That was the whole thing. Some speeches were sort of devoted to the grain crisis, and of course as well to disinformation regarding it. How no grain really goes to Poland because there is an embargo, and of course how Polish farmers can have their grievances, but they cannot air them at the cost of Ukrainian choking. And that, of course, farmers will have to get used to the idea of Ukraine joining fully the European Union sooner or later, and the black soil becoming also part of the European Union along with its riches and spoils. That speech was actually given by a Polish speaker, an ex mayor / president of Warsaw. So that was the speech about Polish people better getting used to Ukraine joining the European Union. That was given by a Polish person. And also, what else? There was something else. I lost track because of fake Kyle Parker's remark. Where was I with this? Where was I going with this? Ah, yeah. He also added that yes, it is true that certain things in Ukraine are not done exactly according to the European standard, but a lot of them actually already are. And he added, I know, I was there. I would know. I've been there. A lot of people were thanked for support from 2014. The meetings near the embassy has started actually in 2014. They've not started in 2022. The cyclical gathering has been going on for 10 years. And that is probably why the whole meeting was not centered around the fact that it's been that it's a second anniversary of the full-scale invasion, but rather on the fact that The war has been raging for 10 years. It's been reiterated many, many times. It's not 2 years, it's 10 years and ongoing. And it's true. It's true. What else can be said about it? Oh, what else was said? Damn. There were people talking about their experiences with occupation, people from who escaped from the occupied areas, who were imprisoned, and other things like that sort of came to speak at the event. Naturally, a thing that was repeated over and over again, that the so-called independent Donetsk and Luhansk regions are Ukrainian, that Crimea is Ukrainian, that was reiterated over and over again. Our Ukrainian Crimea, as was said many times in Ukrainian. And of course, there were many jokes about Putin with swear words that are joined in Polish and Ukrainian. The messaging was very strong and without mincing words. And there was one joke in Russian that I completely misunderstood. And I know that for the very beginning of the event, my mom was with me and then she left. But she was there for the Russian joke. She understood it and smiled, and I didn't get it because I just don't speak Russian. So at least one of us got the joke. And then I'll sort of try to organize the materials that I got and sort of the whole speeches thing, the whole idea behind it, and maybe it'll come off as more coherent. There was a lot of music along the way as well. The whole thing became very atmospheric when it started becoming dark. Before we left to do the actual march, there was this moment when music played and smoke, sort of a red smoke, engulfed like the entire area, and there was music playing, loud music, calm music, and people started crying. People just started outright crying. You know, people just couldn't take it emotionally. They just wept. And there were many transparents like Russia killed my best friend, or we are. This was very interesting because there was a lot of which might sound strange to some people, but there was a lot of messaging of pacifism during this event. There was a lot of speak of pacifism, you know? We are pacifists. We want pacifism. And then they continued with, and to that end, we would like Ukraine to get long-range missiles, finally get the F-16s, finally get more ammunition, etc., so that Ukraine can win, and so that we can have peace and be, as pacifists, we want peace. So we want Ukraine to win. So that was like a very, very interesting take on pacifism. That's probably Um, Usually not used that way by many people, especially those who say we must stop this war, we must have peace. When they say that, usually they say, oh, we must stop this war now, we must negotiate. And a lot of people had transparents like, let this war finally end, bomb Putin, bomb Putin. Or the speakers from the big car that sort of played the music and did speeches during the march were like, we are pacifists, and that's why we must ensure that Ukraine wins. It was a big message. And of course, there was this long Ukrainian flag as well. Apparently, more people came to this one than to the one before. Of course, I am going to have to address the bad one, the bad thing that happened today as well, which just will basically, because that march was very well put together, very well sort of thought out. It turned into a plea for freedom of all sort of. Belarus also got its few minutes, like we have a representative of Belarus saying that we must also fight for Belarus, and it turned into three chants that were repeated over and over again. Slava Ukraini, Heroim Slava. Belarus is alive, and glory to Poland that is free. Those were the three. But there was also one big sort of chant that was present in the march from the very beginning to the very end. And that chant was glory to the nation, death to Russian Federation. And the funny thing is that it rhymes in all languages. It rhymes in Polish, I think it rhymes in Ukrainian as well, and it rhymes in English, as you can see. Glory to the nation, death to Russian Federation. that chant was used over and over again. And of course, then we moved towards all the embassies, the European ones and the US one. There was a lot of talking about US freezing aid. There was a lot of talk about Europe not doing enough. There was a lot of talk of these powerful images of give us weapons now. We need it now. Not tomorrow, not in a week, not in a month. We need it now. On the battlefield, every day, hour, every minute counts. And then the speaker said that every minute that you play your political bickering, you use Ukraine for your electoral games, you start playing accountant and you worry, how much should I spend here? How much should I save there? Every minute of you doing that costs Ukrainian lives. And sooner or later, if you will not do what is right, you will learn what the real cost of war is. But by then, it'll be too late. By then, it'll be too late. So give us aid immediately. And then the whole crowd, the whole march chanted along with the speaker, aid immediately, immediately, right now, give us aid immediately, you know, aid immediately. And so, of course, we moved. There was a plead that the of course the I have it all on sort of recorded. I took a lot of footage of the march actually. Uh, there was of course to the US, stop the nonsense, give us aid, give us the F-16s, give us the HIMARS, give us the long range missiles. It was very there was no like nice this, oh, we would like to ask you for aid, you know, this like if you could maybe consider uh, my bag fell and it fell on on wet ground and all the insides of the bag got wet. That's a whole thing. I didn't get soaked myself. So there wasn't this element of, oh, please, maybe if you could consider. There was no. You have to stop your bullshit and you have to give us aid now. Because if you don't, you will be in our shoes. You will learn the cost of not giving us aid now. It'll cost you a lot more not to give us aid now. And you will learn that cost if you don't give us aid. And there was, of course, this lady who said, I appreciate all the good words. I appreciate all the promises and all. I really appreciate all of the announcements, all of the declarations. But what I've learned when I was still in Ukraine 2 days ago, just 2 days ago, when hiding in a shelter during a bombing, that when a bomb is coming, no matter what beautiful declarations, no matter what grand promises, they will never save you. Only weapons will. So give us aid immediately. That was the big thing. And of course, there was a lot of talk about the Polish-Ukrainian friendship. Finally, the march went to the parliament. There were speeches there about how Poland is uniquely equipped to understand the Ukrainian plea because of history. There were people, like there was a Polish activist that sort of pushed the Polish government, saying, I don't really think the Polish government is doing enough. I don't think the Polish government is doing enough. And she addressed the Prime Minister Donald Tusk directly. Are you sure you're doing enough for Ukraine? Are you sure you're pressuring the European Union enough? Are you sure you're handling the border crisis enough? Can we, and it was like a message as well, can we have actual cooperation within Europe and the world on this? Can we take this seriously? And it was very, very nice. It was very nice. It was very strong and to the point. And there was, of course, talking of losing loved ones when the every minute example was given. Every minute of your indecisiveness is someone's mother dying from a bomb, children dying in their beds, never waking up. It is someone's husband or father dying at the front line. it was quite like it invoked this image of losing your loved ones. It invoked a strong image of losing your loved ones, be they fellow civilians, be they soldiers at the front, or be they journalists who go to report what's going on. Oh, speaking of which, there was a moment of course, there was a moment of appreciation uh, because there was a lot of talk about Polish-Ukrainian friendship. Uh, Even during the march, the big voice from the megaphone shouted, "This is real Poland, not what's happening, not what the farmers are doing at the border. This is real Poland. This us marching together like this." And there was, of course, a moment when thanks were given to all the reporters from Poland who went to and sort of did material on what's going on. From what I'm aware, only a Polish journalist was actually allowed as a single person in the world, at least from what he said, to go and film with military units during that um, sad and sadly unsuccessful counteroffensive. That apparently he was the only one that was let in to sort of directly report it. Uh, and also medics. Medics were helped a lot from Poland. Medics who go to the front line and sort of take care of the wounded. And there are quite a lot of Polish medics in Ukraine, which is very interesting. They go to Ukraine and often they don't get any funding either from the Polish or the Ukrainian government. So at first, they usually buy all of the medical supplies out of their own money and treat soldiers, and send them to like those emergency units, etc. Those field hospitals. And then they start getting they create social media accounts and they start asking for donations. So it's tough. Medics are especially sort of us. Medics are an especially sort of interesting case. Interesting is a weird word to use here, because medics, according to international law, are supposed to be left alone. You know, they're supposed to be able to help the wounded, and there are conventions about this. Okay, like medics are not supposed to be targeted. Like there's the Red Cross that is supposed to give you some sort of level, like almost like journalists, right? Like the press thing is supposed to give you some level of safety against like soldiers, right? You're supposed to not be targeted. And medics also are not supposed to be targeted. The Red Cross is supposed to give you some sort of like a level of safety from not being deliberately targeted and attacked. But unfortunately, with Russia, hello, Hrundo. Fortunately, with Russia, all these rules sort of act in reverse. And actually, medics are among the primary targets. I've already heard somewhere else that artillery crewmen are primary, like a primary target for killing. But apparently, one of the primary targets are also medics. So the Red Cross, that is supposed to give you safety, becomes a big target. For Russia, it becomes like this big target to go after, especially places where the wounded are gathered to be stabilized and then moved further. That is what Russia is really targeting. Like there were medics who talked about how they were attacked directly. They experienced being directly attacked because someone just leaked the info about their localization, the localization of the stabilization point. Yeah, I never said it was. I never said it was Christian. I don't know why you said that. I just said it's supposed to, as you said, give some level of safety because it's, it identifies you as a medic. But everything in Russia works in inverse, so it's like a big target on you that they can easily identify and shoot or shell. Yeah, journalists are also targeted. Yes, they are. They are. Yes. Yes, they are. Because in Russia, everything works in reverse. Oh, there's actually we've already spoke about the reason why journalists are valuable targets. You weren't here, so I will repeat it. During the march, during the event, there was actually a whole little appreciation moment, a whole little appreciation fragment. That is what I said. That is what I said. Oh my God. That is what I said about the Red Cross. That it's supposed to give you this level of, I'm a doctor, look, right? Don't shoot. I said that. Oh my God. Don't steal my thunder. But anyway, there was this whole appreciation bit, a whole appreciation speech, because a whole big thing about the event was misinformation and Russian propaganda. So they basically did a whole appreciation moment for all sorts of journalists. The mainstream media journalists that come to Ukraine to report what's going on, independent journalists that go to Ukraine to report on what's going on. They said that all journalists of all ilk, of all stripes, are a powerful weapon against, actually the weapon, not a powerful, they are the weapon against Russian disinformation and propaganda, right? They say that you have Russians with their big misinfo machine, and on the other hand, you have journalists who are the weapon that cut through that, like a sword or a knife, and give you the actual truth about what's going on. And then, of course, they gave an example of 20 days in Mariupol as an example of this happening. Or a small group of journalists sort of creating this documentary which showcased what actually happened in Mariupol. Right? So there was a huge appreciation for people who journal, report as journalists, or rather reporters on the ground. And that, of course, brings us to the whole journalists being prime target for Russians. Because Russians do not like weapons against their propaganda and misinformation. So of course they're gonna try to eliminate it. They're gonna try to eliminate anything that actually very effectively counters their propaganda. Of course, they're just gonna try to eliminate it. Same with medics. Medics take people who are taken off the field, off the battleground, and bring them to shape to come back and fight. Eliminate them. Eliminate those pesky medics that just bring people back to fight another day. That is probably Russian logic behind it. That is probably the whole logic behind it. There's this Sabaton song which I really like. It isn't bombastic like the other ones, which talks about a young man taken to fight in war, dies, and is forgotten. Yeah. And there was a big appreciation for those who fight on the battlefield, and a special appreciation for those who died already. As with this like with the signs that people had. Russia killed my best friend. I'm gonna try to do something smart with all the footage that I've gathered of the event. I'm gonna try to do something smart with it. We'll see. Of course, unfortunately, as great as today's march was, there was actually a counter protest today, believe it or not, in Warsaw. I want to do some nice material with the pro-Ukrainian thing that I've caught on my trusty phone. I'm going to try to make it into some workable material. And then unfortunately we will now cover the bad thing. The good thing I'm covering just by talking about my sort of thoughts and I guess impressions. I've gathered quite a lot of material to do something with it. The media's general coverage of this has been very positive and favorable and pushing for further friendship between the nations. Actually, one other slogan was "Take your grabby hands off of Polish-Ukrainian friendship." That was also one of the slogans shouted today. And when the media covered the event, also a lot of important things were mentioned, like we all know what happened in Bucha, for example, right? We all know what happened in Bucha. We all know the mass killings. We all know what happened there. But there is a thing that we do not know as of yet, which might be very shockingly sort of. We might be up for a shock because we learned about Bucha because the Russians left Bucha, right? So they left their handiwork behind. But there are places which are occupied to which no one has access, including Ukrainians. So the question becomes, how many Buchas are there that we just don't know about? How many more Buchas are just out there for everybody to discover once the Russians are gone? We can only speculate. But a lot of people speculate that it's probably a lot. And we're gonna discover a lot more Buchas when the Russians get kicked out. So that's a little bit of a grim picture when we add to it the targeting of the medics and journalists, etc. It's almost like we get a picture of a genocidal terrorist state that decides to invade a country. Almost. Also, interestingly enough, that is one of the things that the media was talking about when covering the anniversary and the events surrounding it, that when it comes to the propaganda, which again was why there was a big, during the march there was a big sort of speech dedicated as a big thank you, big sort of appreciation moment for all journalists from mainstream to independent for becoming the weapons against misinformation. Like the media, when covering this whole thing today, have said that the truth is that when it comes to the battle of propaganda and information, that Ukraine has won. Ukraine won that war. Ukraine has won against Russia when it comes to bringing to light real, actual information. And it's in no small part thanks to the journalists. But they said that basically no one really believes unless they're idiots. Yeah, they basically mocked all people that still believe. Like basically nobody believes the conspiracy theories. Nobody's serious. Okay, I'm gonna rephrase that. At this point, nobody serious believes conspiracy Russian propaganda about what happened in Euromaidan. Nobody serious believes about the U.S. coup. Nobody serious believes about the snipers, conspiracy theories that Ukraine basically won this information war, and basically everybody at this point knows how it actually went. And again, thanks to, among other things, journalists who actually go and inform people about what really transpired. So that is considered a huge win, that the misinformation and propaganda that Russia was trying to push and spread did not actually find fertile ground in the free world as Russia had hoped. that nobody basically believes in the whole Nazis in Ukraine nonsense. That nobody serious believes in the huge problem that the need of denazification of Ukraine. Nobody buys that from Russia. So on that front, Russia has simply failed. And there was a plea not to let them win in Poland, not to let Ukrainian people believe that Poland is against Ukraine and vice versa, not to believe the Russian propaganda that Ukraine is against Poland. There's a lot of very interesting things. There's a lot of interesting elements that came onto this whole event. It was pretty jam-packed, all things considered. There wasn't really a moment of this idleness, of this, oh, I'm just walking around in this event. I'm just, I don't really, people are just standing and, and nothing's really going on. There wasn't really a moment like that. It was either there were the speeches, which were very loud, and very sort of aggressive in their messaging, like very aggressive, and they engaged the audience a lot, with saying certain things in Ukrainian that there were a lot of Ukrainians in the crowd. So they were like throw certain jokes at the crowd, and the crowd would respond in Ukrainian, or they laugh or something like that. Someone would throw a joke about Putin in Russian. Again, people would laugh, and also there were also pretty cute moments when people were chanting certain things in Ukrainian, and there was this girl standing pretty near me that when everybody calmed down with saying the slogan, she would keep shouting the slogan as the last person in the crowd and just get embarrassed by doing that. That she time and time again, she would continue shouting the slogan even though everybody else had already stopped, and the whole crowd was silent. It was like, and then hiding away in embarrassment. So that was like this little cute moment that I witnessed close by. And there was this little Ukrainian refugee boy that sang the Polish anthem. So yeah, there was. So there were the speeches, and when people were marching, loud Ukrainian music was played, right? Loud Ukrainian music was played during the march itself, when the crowd was going from one place to another, to all the embassies, because we basically went through a lot of them, for a lot of embassies. And apart from the music, also, while we were going, speeches were happening still to the crowd. While the crowd was moving, speeches were also happening to the crowd, and also were engaging the crowd. Like, for example, it was already getting dark. Like, the whole event went into when it got dark. So one of the things that the organizers did was to tell the crowd, okay, all of you now turn all of your phone flashlights on so that we can see how many of you are here. And they would just do it. Show us how many of you are there. Show us your flashlight. It's very interesting. The way the crowd kept getting engaged in all different sorts of ways. Either verbally or some little small call to action like the show us your phone light so that we can see how many of you are here. So that people didn't just, at no point people were just sort of passively walking around lost as to what's even happening. There weren't, like, apart from the very beginning before the whole thing proper started and at the end where it ended, there wasn't this moment of everybody's just sort of there. There was a big effort to keep engaging, like, the crowd in the thing, and it sort of worked. The crowd was pretty engaged throughout. By cheering back, especially, that worked. Cheering back in Ukrainian, a lot of the crowd even threw in their own sort of remarks in Ukrainian, to which the organizers also sort of fluidly responded by laughing at the jokes thrown from the crowd at them, which was also pretty good. So I've sort of just recorded a bunch of that. It was a very, very nice event. Very powerful messaging. I know it got to me. I know it got to my certain emotional spot, so to speak, to my certain, well, fears. So it was pretty emotional for me as well, for various reasons. It was nice. It was good. It was a good event. So, because we had a really nice, beautiful thing that showcased solidarity, there was before I move on to the horrible thing, there was also a really big move, that call to action. Like, I don't have it with me because it was in the bag. I have to find it, but there was a really big call to action throughout the whole thing, because in the US, the big call to action, there are a few big calls to action right now in the US. Call your representatives, which, if you are from the US, do, please. Pressure, especially the conservatives that, are in the House and could tip the scale. Pressure them to, for aid. You can just, there's this page where you can just type out your zip code and it'll throw you your representatives that you can contact. So do that. A second big call to action in the US is voting for Biden, not for Trump. Voting. So right now in Poland, a big call to action, a sort of big call to action in Poland is tax related, because the tax season is coming. And in Poland, I don't know if it's a thing in the US, in Poland, you can choose to give 1.5% of your tax, of your whole tax, to an org of your choosing. You can choose to relegate at least 1% of your whole, you know, yearly taxes to an org of your choosing. That is like that is a thing that you can do, 1%. And of course, a big call to action today was to take your 1% and to give it to an org. They actually advertised the org, they gave flyers, that was also pretty well prepared. They give your 1% to this org that will arm Ukraine. So that was the big call to action today during the event. Use your one. I would use my 1%, but the problem is I still don't know how to handle my taxes because my accountant still doesn't know. My accountant still doesn't understand how I should pay my taxes. So I cannot give my 1% because I don't know how to pay the taxes from what I'm doing. Also, consider donating while we're at it. So that's the big direct action, sort of call to action by the organizers of the event. What else is there to say before I move on to the horrible thing? This is in a moment where we're about to enter the horrible zone. That call to action, sort of. It was by the organizers of the event. It was all very sort of targeted, all very um, very powerful. Yeah. One of the benefits of being a wage is that taxes are automatically deducted from pay, so I never had to think about it. Oh, I have to think about it, and I have no idea what to do. But don't worry about the taxes. Donate either way. Donate. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Also, people from all over the okay, apart from the fascistic group that I'm about to discuss, quite frankly, basically center right leaning people, left wing people, all of them basically support arming Ukraine. There was a representative, a politician. I've already said that politicians spoke as well in front of the parliament, and one of them was the representative of the left wing party. And in no uncertain terms did she say that Ukraine needs arming, arms, long range Taurus missiles. So yes, Taurus missiles. So that's it. Now we can go to the horrible thing. The horrible, horrible thing that happened. For this one, I'm gonna. I actually had an opportunity to attend it. I could have actually sort of documented that as well. But unfortunately, I did not. I've wasted that opportunity to document that. But we're just gonna have to do with an article. Jesus. That's an old one. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Jesus. So, let's see if this is an article that I can read to you about. I think this is an article that I can read to you. Nope, that's not it. Damn, there's nothing on it yet. Is there? There was this weird anti-immigration protest just today. And it was done in tandem with the farmers, etc. Okay, let's just try the... Oh, I have to choose Polish. There we go. Anti-Ukrainian and anti-Semitic slogans on the march called The Crown of Brown. The police did not react. Polexit was this weird march in Warsaw against the European Union and against Ukraine, I guess, and many other things. And the weird thing about it is Like this is like basically done by the closest thing that you can get to a fascist or a Nazi party in Poland. It, thank God, has basically no power in the parliament. But for example, like I've already spoken about it before, the Brown from the titular Brown's Crown destroyed Christmas trees because they had Ukrainian flag ornaments on it. Like just to give you a scope on just how strange people we're dealing with. And then we have the same Brown who during Hanukkah in the parliament, during the Hanukkah in parliament, went with a fire extinguisher and attacked the menorah. They attacked the menorah. They have their favorite 5 points. We don't want the European Union, we don't want the Jews, we don't want the LGBT, we don't want abortion, and we don't want taxes. And of course, they jumped very early on during the invasion of Ukraine on a very anti-Ukrainian train, which they have used to stoke that fire when it comes to the border crisis, border protests. And it is also very important to sort of have this perspective to remember that they are just like this main source of anti-Ukrainian rhetoric in Poland. They coined, Brown personally has coined the term "stop the Ukrainization of Poland," that basically Poland is just becoming an extension of Ukraine. Poland will just become Ukraine. The language will become Ukrainian. The main language will become Ukrainian instead of Polish, etc., etc., etc. He organized a big protest in the past, but basically nobody came to it. And now they're trying to... They couldn't win any votes, so now they're trying to gain power through these sort of things. They probably are betting on their anti-Ukrainian rhetoric getting them some local election votes from, for example, farmers. Anti-Ukrainian, anti-Semitic rhetoric. Yeah. The Nationals... Okay, I will say one more thing actually about the nice thing. I will say one more thing about the nice march, because I just remembered a Polish activist who really grilled the Polish government, like saying, you don't do enough, you should do more. She said, and I just want to ask one question. Okay? I want to ask one question. Why the hell are we all talking about Navalny, the well-known ultra-nationalist, instead of talking about the Ukrainian soldiers that give their life every day for us? That's the last thing about the nice thing. That's the last thing. There's a bit of that. It's a mixed problem. It is a mixed problem. But the problem is, at least right now, that there is no Ukrainian grain in Poland because there's an embargo. So there's actually... Okay. That's the thing, okay? There is no Ukrainian grain in Poland right now. There's an embargo. It goes through transit. So the new propaganda, that's a propaganda line. The propaganda line that apparently the farmers have bought all wholesale is that all Ukrainian grain is toxic somehow because it does not meet the standards of the European Union's finest. So it's all toxic. There you go. That's actually a thing. Jesus. So whatever, like right now, whatever competition they're afraid of is only at the moment hypothetical because there's been an embargo on Ukrainian grain for a while now. Just so you know. Just so you know. Just so you know, there's been an embargo on for a while now. Okay, let's go back to the awful thing. So the Nationals, led by Grzegorz Braun, I've already introduced Grzegorz Braun to you, the person that destroys any Christmas tree as long as it has a Ukrainian flag on it, and will try to snuff out any fire of any menorah in sight. And Janusz Korwin-Mikke. I don't think Janusz Korwin-Mikke needs an introduction. I actually believe that Janusz Korwin-Mikke has managed to make himself internationally famous through his statements in the European Parliament. Who here does not know who Janusz Korwin-Mikke is? I don't believe there are many who don't. I believe Janusz Korwin-Mikke has become an internationally famous person. Yes, I have heard about Grzegorz Brzęczyszczykiewicz. It's not a difficult thing for me to say. Okay. I don't want to get into Janusz Korwin-Mikke now. But if you know who Sargon of Akkad is, Carl Benjamin, I think that's his surname, Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad. Janusz Korwin-Mikke had an interview with Sargon of Akkad, and Janusz Korwin-Mikke made Sargon of Akkad feel uncomfortable. I think that's all you need. Janusz Korwin-Mikke made Sargon of Akkad uncomfortable during an interview. I don't think you need any more. I think that's all you need. There's also truckers. But farmers do have actually positions wildly out of sync with rest of, like, there's the farmers, people in the small sort of people in the countryside are a huge voter base for the Law and Justice Party, and people in the big cities are a huge voter base for the current coalition. So yeah, there is this element to it. I'm sorry. What did you say? What did you just call me? Excuse me? Okay, let's go back. because before we start discussing weird things like dick sucking lips. So Janusz Korwin-Mikke introduced. Thank you. They went through Warsaw on the second anniversary of the Russian attack on Ukraine. They decided that they needed to, you know, do it, right? That needed to be done. So on the second anniversary of the attack of Russia on Ukraine, they were talking of needing to leave the European Union because the Confederacy Party really wants to leave the European Union and to stop support of Ukraine. Leave the European Union, stop supporting Ukraine. Gee, I wonder if any of the farmers took on the slogan of leaving the European Union. Oh yes, they did. Yes, they have. Some of the transparents of the farmers absolutely did have leaving the European Union, which for farmers makes absolutely no sense because they're one of the benefactors of huge sort of subsidies, etc. So yeah. The Nationalists has met at 12, not midnight, but in the middle of the day. On the Plac Trzech Krzyży, so on the Three Crosses Plaza. The meeting point was under the statue of Vitos. The organizer, the Confederacy Party in Warsaw, so the Warsaw structure of the party of Grzegorz Braun, the anti-immigration message of the day, and anti-European. On the second anniversary of the start of the Ukrainian-Russian war. And they said that because they are frankly crazy, like the Republican Party, they said that there need be a wall built on the Ukrainian-Polish border. Poland needs to build a wall. Oh, I cannot read the full thing because I don't have a subscription. But basically that is where we are at. They want to leave the European Union, they want to stop aid to Ukraine, and they also want to build a wall because why not? We're going to build a wall and we're going to make Ukraine pay for it. Thank God they have zero power in the country. They have like zero power. Their amount of seats in the parliament actually amounts to nothing. Thank God. But of course there's now suddenly the real fear that they will be able to gain something locally in the local elections, which would be a very, very unfortunate turn of events. So I'm gonna have to vote very hard. I'm gonna have to vote very hard. And do my best for it, Law and Justice, because Law and Justice and the Confederacy are going to the election together. Okay, they're going together. They're using all the horrible things in their arsenal. Disgusting. Disgusting. A Trump-Biden wall is quite unaesthetic. At least do it properly. There's not going to be a wall because the Confederacy Party has no power. It's not happening. Speaking of, this is not going to be a super long stream, so we're going to just finish it off with something that I really, really found to be interesting. Something to be really, really telling. And you know about the whole UN meeting when the representative of Russia went on a whole huge, ridiculous rant, said that actually there are no temporarily occupied areas. There are just areas that chose to left on their own due to the voting. And also, by the way, Crimea is Russian, as the Russian representative said. And then, because each representative had a moment to speak, and then the Polish Minister of Foreign Affairs chose his time to speak, to say a few words, of wisdom. We're gonna find them. That was 3 hours ago. Here we go.
Myself.
Let's make it full screen. A response to the Russian representative by, I believe, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Yeah, Sikorski. Sikorski Radek. Radosław Sikorski. Okay, Radek, take it away. Hold on. I need my thing. I'm gonna need my thing for this.
Madam President, I associate myself with the words of Minister Kuleba of Ukraine and my colleagues from the European Union. But I am amazed at the tone and the content of the presentation by the Russian ambassador. And I thought I could be useful by correcting the record. Ambassador Nebendia has called Kiev the clients of the West. Actually,
interesting. Kiev is the client of the West.
Kiev is fighting to be independent of anybody. He calls them a criminal Kiev regime. In fact, Ukraine has a democratically elected government.
Unlike Russia. So there you go. That's a little bit of a dig.
He calls them Nazis. Well, the president is Jewish, the defense minister is Muslim, and they have no political prisoners.
Uh-oh. God damn. What about Russia? Does Russia have any political prisoners? Does Russia have any? No, that couldn't be. That could not be, right?
He said that Ukraine was wallowing in corruption. Well, Alexei Navalny documented how honest and full of probity his own country is.
Damn. Oh my. Oh no. Russia pointed at Russia was put on the spot. Damn. Russia pointing out any country's corruption is a riot, is a joke. There's no bigger joke than Russia of all countries trying to point out corruption.
He blamed the war on US neocolonialism. In fact, it is Russia that tried to exterminate Ukraine in the 19th century.
True, in the 19th century during the partitions actually. During the partitions of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth.
Again under the Bolsheviks, and it's the third attempt. He said that we are prisoners of Russophobia. Phobia means irrational fear. Yet we are being threatened almost every day by the former president of Russia and by Putin propagandists with nuclear annihilation.
True. Poland specifically as well has been threatened. And in this case, it wasn't even a propagandist that said it. It was just some close advisor to Putin that actually said we should actually just nuke the city of Poznań in Poland, and Washington would be mad to attack us over some backwater city of Poznań. That the US would be stupid to even react to such a thing, to such an insignificant place being nuked. So there you go.
I put to you that it's not irrational. When Russia threatens us, we trust it. He said that we are denying Russia's security interests. Not true. We've only started rearming ourselves when Russia started invading her neighbors.
True.
He even said that Poland attacked Russia during World War II.
Yeah, that's... yeah. The whole Poland attacked Russia during World War II feels like a why are you hitting yourself moment, for sure.
What is he talking about? It's the Soviet Union that attacked Poland together with Nazi Germany on the 17th of September 1939. They even held a joint victory parade on the 22nd of September.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Knowing history. Oh no. Oh no. Somebody actually knows history that is not a bunch of bullshit. Damn.
Says that Russia has always only beaten back aggression.
Oh yeah. Now this part is very nice for anyone that knows how many L's Russia has suffered historically. Well, we're gonna take it away.
What were Russian troops doing at the gates of Warsaw in August 1920? They were on a topographical excursion? No, the truth is that for every time that Russia has been invaded, she has invaded 10 times. He says that this is a perfidious proxy war by the West. My advice is don't fall into the Western trap. Withdraw your troops to the international border and avoid this Western plot.
That is nice. That is nice. Oh no, the Western propaganda, we're being taken in. Well then, just avoid us. Avoid us. Just leave. Leave and avoid us. Leave and avoid the propaganda of the West. Nice. Nice.
He also says that there was an illegal coup in Ukraine, in Kiev in 2014. Well, I was there. There was no coup. President Yanukovych murdered 100 of his compatriots, and he was removed from office by a democratically elected Ukrainian parliament, including his own party, the Party of Regions.
That's gotta burn to be removed by your own party, by the way. That's a burn. That's gotta hurt, right? If your own party sort of decides that you're out. That's gotta hurt.
And finally, he is saying that we, the West, are somehow trying to persuade that Russia can never be beaten. Well, Russia didn't win the Crimean War.
There you go. The L's.
Didn't win the Russo-Japanese War. It didn't win World War I, it didn't win the Battle of Warsaw, it didn't win in Afghanistan, and it didn't win the Cold War. But there is good news. After each failure, there were reforms.
I mean, there were reforms, but they were not always good reforms, so I'm not so happy about that. There were reforms after each defeat, but they were not always good reforms, I would say. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm, you know? I'm a bit more skeptical of this.
Such demagoguery is unworthy of a member on a permanent basis of the Security Council.
The fact that Russia is on the Security Council is a joke in on it, of itself.
But what the ambassador has achieved is to remind us why we resisted Soviet domination and what Ukraine is resisting now. They failed to subjugate us then, they'll fail to subjugate Ukraine and us now. Thank you very much.
Damn. How did you like? How did you like that? I mean, that is basically the sentiment, isn't it? That is basically the sentiment of any country that has ever found itself in a long Russian occupation, which Poland has at least 100 years, under Russian sphere of influence, which again Poland has after World War II. So that is how countries that were ever part of the Ruski Mir, Rosyjski świat, the Russian world, part of the Russian world. That is how those countries love it. The wonders of becoming part of the Russian world. But yeah, the Russian ambassador basically just blatantly said, yeah, there are no temporarily occupied areas. There are only areas that left of their own free accord. And Crimea, that's Russian. So there's actually nothing going on. There's actually nothing. You see, it's all perfectly fine. It's all good. Feels that Russians don't really try when it comes to their over talking points. Their best propaganda is the online saturation. Yeah. There is no occupation busing, say. I just saw seeds of doubt. Unfortunately, in some circles, their propaganda is working. I mean, I saw people debating not so long ago that the Euromaidan snipers were some, I don't know, CIA guys or something. Because that makes a lot of sense. That makes perfect sense. Oh yeah. That's great. That's the most logical explanation. The CIA did it. It did everything. I bet you the CIA created Solidarity. Actually, let's look it up.
Madam
I
President.
want to see if that's I want to see if that's a thing that's being proposed as a I want to see if that's a thing. There we go. A covert action. Oh, never mind. I was getting so excited for this article, which started by saying that the CIA gave a bunch of money to the Solidarity movement, but then it sort of rains on my parade by saying this: Solidarity was not a creature of the CIA. It sprang up spontaneously in August 1980. How boring. Yeah, but that was after it won. The neoliberal stuff was not a thing until Solidarity won. That's a thing that happened after. And it didn't even happen right away. That's a bit complicated, actually. But it does say that the CIA created the legacy of Lech Wałęsa. Damn. Damn. CIA. There we have it. CIA created the Solidarity movement. It was the CIA all along, just like in Euromaidan. There you go. There you have it. So if you've enjoyed this, then like, subscribe, hit the bell, and blah. I think as a baby she made me meet him. Lech Wałęsa? Or was it my brother? Wait, you met Lech Wałęsa or whatever? Oh god. Or the CIA. John Paul II. You've met John Paul II. Karol Wojtyła. The Pope. Everyone was so sad when he died, and then it turned out that he was not a good man. Surprise, surprise. Damn, what a shock. Damn. Yeah, what? Yeah, Lech Wałęsa or John Paul II. Karol Wojtyła. Karol Wojtyła. Which one is it? Which one is it? Which one is it? DARPA are bigger than CIA now. The CIA will always be the biggest, especially under its director. William J. Burns. The CIA will always be the biggest. You've been playing too many Metal Gear Solid games if you think the DARPA chief is the boss. DARPA chief is dead. His blood is drained. DARPA chief. Alright. We've done it. We've done the stream, I think. It was supposed to be a shorty. And we've done it. We've done it. Karol Wojtyła. Okay, got it. I've given you my thoughts on the thing that you wanted to be given my thoughts on. used to. DARPA is everyone's home now, watching yours. What? What did you just say? Solidarity emerged within Poland due quite severe issues. I mean, we can go through the history of Solidarity one time. My parents were part of it. So I have an extensive. I have an extensive primary source catalog at home. I don't even have to go to any archive to get Solidarity related primary sources. You can just go to some room and get them. Karasu joined as I'm finishing up. Karasu has joined as I'm. I think the NSA, so that not DARPA were involved in it. Oh, God. CIA is all it done is potentially try to make us support those actors that was already radicalized against the regime. Yeah, I mean they give them money. That is sort of an agreed consensus. That Solidarity was given money. Not a huge amount, but they were still given. Oh, you've just finished. Maybe I should do something still. Should I do something still? Now that you're here, maybe I should not finish the stream yet. It's a very short stream. But I just wanted to talk about my thoughts on the march, and I have also talked a little bit about the anti-march. But that is not co-opt. Is more of the interest to me. I mean, only a lunatic would say that it was co-opted. The only people that believe that Solidarity was created by the CIA will be the people that believe in the coup during Euromaidan and that the snipers were CIA agents or something. If you finish stream, you could raid Demon Mama. How do I raid Demon Mama? Hold on. Can I even raid Demon Mama? How do I do this? Oh, gosh. How to raid someone on YouTube. Oh, gosh. Live redirects. How do I choose? Log into YouTube, go to settings, click on community under live redirects, and just particular channel you want to. Okay. YouTube Studio. Got it. YouTube Studio. Let's go to the YouTube Studio now. YouTube Studio. Settings. Settings. Here we go, settings. I don't see it. Community. Okay. Oh. Yeah, how do I edit customization? Oh, okay, never mind. That's not the thing. Never mind. I'm thinking of the edit customization. Add. Okay. We're gonna redirect to Demon Mama. Assuming that I can. Okay, we're gonna finish now and we're gonna see if it's gonna redirect. You ready to check? You ready? Are you ready to check if it's gonna actually redirect?